replacing it with this small part or fragment from just one direction now. Alright, I've got it on the other side. It's got to be clamped down. If you don't clamp it tightly, it's going to fly out, and it's going to fly out, and it's going to be a problem. This step is very critical. I strongly believe that this wood lathe is considerably secure. But this chuck is very critical. If the wood is airborne, it will pose a negative outcome. It's very dangerous. I want to use this. I'd like to use the tailstock to push it up, but it doesn't look like it'll hold. Forget it. This specific chunk must possess adequate strength to fulfill the requirements. I've adjusted it. I'm going to do the top part of the modeling. Now I am going to utilize my Thompson roughing gouge, which is specifically designed for bowl turning. Adjust the tool rest. First, I'm going to make a hole in the center of the piece. The Thompson gouge is highly effective for initial modeling. It yields excellent results. It is exceptionally swift. But the problem is that at the end of the day, process, the surface of the cut is still a little bit rough. This stubble, we have to employ alternate scraping methods to proceed, to make the surface more smooth. With just a few strokes, I've removed the central part and made a significant change to the text. Now I'm going to expand it around. Gradually, this text has 15 characters. Step by step. For this, I emphasize again and again that the microtome is very, very hard because it has a high specific gravity and density, so it's very hard. And during the whole cutting process, my feeling is that the most important point is not to take too much tools. Cannot be too much, if too much, into the easy to cause running knife. It's going well. In the cutting of the wings, the curve of the gouge is very important. I am unable to provide an explanation for the path taken by my sharp-edged utensil. However, it is certainly not designed to be used on a completely smooth surface. Because of my limited technical skills, while it is impossible to depict the path of the blade accurately, it is certain that the blade is moving along a curved trajectory. So the four wings that will come out, it's tilted downward to a certain degree. I'm using a curved position. It's a curved one. It's a slightly wider blade. Look at it. It's not bad. You can see that the center nest and the corners around it have been cut down quite a bit. The darker part of the wood in the center hasn't been touched yet. I haven't made any specific cuts yet. The corners are not quite curved enough. I'm continuing to work on the corners. I'd like the corners to go down. A little more angled so that it's a little bit more dynamic. Now it's going down. The more you get to the edge, the lower it goes, the more it stretches. This is the transition in the center. The transition and the inner nest and the corners surrounding from every direction. Now I've changed the knife. And continue modeling. The knife's path affects its future shape. The path of the knife is closely related to the shape you want to create. Or the part you don't want to cut off. Ensure that you do not discard the portion you dislike as it presents an issue. Take a look again. Stop at any time and take a look. Look at the nest. The corners are coming out. The corners are coming out. The curvature of the cut is still not good. Continue cutting the corners. Transition the corners upwards. The shape is like a flower petal. You can imagine the petals of a flower. The tip of the petal. The tip of the edge of the petal is downward. Near the center of the stamen, it's a fossa. There's a curved transition between the stamen and the edge of the flower. Look again. That's much better now. And now we're going to cut the corners of the flower more finely. In the hole I cut the wood, the room is filled with the smell of Lignum Vitae wood. It's like the scent of spring flowers. It's similar to the delightful scent of blooming flowers during the spring season. I carve it repeatedly. The wood shape was designed to look better. To comprehend and execute this procedure, keeping the essence intact. To realize this process, countless repetitions. Not only to see it, but to feel it with your hands. Feeling it. The later it gets, the more nervous I get when cutting this corner. I fear mistakes that harm the piece. I am afraid of making a mistake and damaging the piece. Often, if something goes wrong, especially with the corner. Then, the shape may not be what it is supposed to be, potentially causing a deviation from its intended form. This piece is relatively easy to deal with. Because the wood is relatively thick, even if there is a slight mistake, it can be remedied. It's getting closer and closer. The shape I want. It's a little loose. I need to tighten it up a little bit. I'll trim it a bit. It's too much. It's still a little unnatural in places. It needs a little more work. I'll do it again. I'll be very careful. Finish it. The closer we get to the finish line, the more nervous I get. I don't want to make any mistakes. So I'm concentrating very hard. Okay, basically, it's almost done. Let's start sanding. I like to use these four corners. I like to do it by hand, not by hand with a drill. I prefer manual over drill, because it's not as easy to machine sand. It's not very good because the corners are downward. Those of us who have experience in wood should know that these four corners, it's very difficult to machine sand them with sandpaper. But I still want to use this kind of sanding. I'm going to use this kind of sanding. So these four sides and four corners, because it has a curvature, so I'm going to use a drill to sand them. I feel better. You have to be careful not to hit it too much at once. If you hit it too much, it's easy to make grooves. Change to a finer sandpaper. This process of sanding, in addition to the four corners, I manually sanded the transition in the middle of the shape, further sanding by hand in order to give it a more genuine appearance and texture. I believe there are still a few locations with unexplored potential that need to be perfected. This is a piece of art crafted from the wood of Lignum Vitae. Look at its rotating posture. I like an elegant planet in the universe. Tells a silent story. Ancient and mysterious stories. The warm luster seems to contain the energy of the universe, flowing silently, taking you on a fantastic journey. Look, the rounded bottom and the square corners blend so harmoniously together. There's not a trace of abruptness. Only smooth lines and natural beauty. These graceful curves, like the trajectory of the universe, mysterious and full of power. Let us now concentrate on this matter at hand. To the center of the work of art. Look at this exquisite wood grain, like a rotating galaxy, from the center outward to the infinite. It's as if it's taking you into the vastness, the boundless universe. This piece, Lignum Vitae, is not just a beautiful work of art, it's an infinite imagination of the universe and the hope for the future. It uses simple lines, tells us the dream of mankind to explore the universe, leading us to the stars and the sea to pursue the infinite possibilities